Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. All right, today we are talking about goals, but we're talking about a little bit of different goals. We're kind of getting creative because in having some conversations with clients this week and also kind of riffing on the blog post and email newsletter I sent out this week, we're going to get a little more creative or think about goals beyond just outcomes and process goals, which you know I love. If you've spent any time here with me listening to this podcast, you know how I feel about my outcome and process goals. I love them long time. But I'm finding that some people get stuck, either that they've accomplished a lot of their outcome goals, which, oh my God, that's amazing, or they have dogs of different ages, right? Like baby dogs who you're not really ready to work on like your lifetime goals yet because you don't know what they're capable of, or retired dogs, or dogs that have just done a lot of amazing things. And so sometimes people actually struggle creating goals for themselves because maybe they're just happy doing what they've been doing and they're going merrily along, going to the similar trial schedule, same venue, same things. So I am here to break you out of your creative rut when it comes to goal setting. Okay, so we're going to think a little bit beyond just outcome goals. Not that they're not great. I want you to have outcome goals, but we're going to focus a little bit more on your personal growth as a handler and set some creative goals that hopefully excite you and get your passion going and get you wanting to work on things again and getting you wanting to like push yourself into that uncomfortable growth zone and really figure out like what is possible for you, okay? Beyond just normal classes, normal trials, normal things, and let's see what else we can do, okay? So I think that it's interesting to, like when I set my goals, I always have, similar format because, I'm following my Dogged Planner and Workbook, and so I am following that for each dog, I have lifetime, 3-year, 1 year, and like 3 to 6 month goals for everybody. And also within that lifetime goal section, I'm even writing down year to year things that the dogs have already accomplished and then writing a check mark behind that because I want to celebrate it. I want to see these lifetime goals, like for a 9-year-old dog, for instance, so many of which have been accomplished. And I think that's sometimes where people get stuck. They're like, oh my God, I've already accomplished so many things. Maybe I couldn't even dream where I am right now, let alone wanting more. That seems almost greedy or ungrateful. And so we're going to flip that on its head and really get you thinking about some other things that you could work on, okay? So I don't want you to feel frustrated when you set goals. I want you to feel excited when you set goals. I want you to feel like, gosh, what is possible? What could that even be? So that's what we're going to get into more today. And I mentioned that I sent some of this out a little bit in my newsletter. Every week I send out a email newsletter. So if you're not signed up for that and you want to be, go to the show notes. There's a place where you can click and sign up, or else check out the blog. It's theqcoach.com/blog. And there are all of the back articles, blogs, newsletter posts, whatever you want to call them, they are there. And this one is there as well. Okay, so we love goals, especially outcome goals, right? Titles, wins, cues, big titles, those kind of marathon titles, those things that take us a really long time to attain. We love those, and I love them for you, okay? And they're easy to share with others. I feel like they're very, kind of tangible or maybe easy to communicate. And I think that is amazing. And I think those are great. And I want us all to have them. I have them. I have dozens of them that I want for my 3 dogs over their lifetimes, right? But I also want some things that are just for me, because sometimes, there's this real thing that, like, once you achieve the goals that you set out, some people, once they achieve that, they actually get like bummed out. Like that's like a whole, there's a whole research thing around Olympians, and like once they accomplish what they wanted, that they actually get really depressed afterwards. And we don't need to do that. So we're going to make sure that we are always inspired, always motivated to take the next step. Okay. The other thing that happens along the way to some of those bigger goals, or some of those goals, I should say, that take years maybe to accomplish, are that, sometimes bumps in the roads happen, right? Could be an injury, could be some other kind of setback. Who saw the pandemic coming and we'd have to take all those months off? Stuff happens. And so we want to make sure that we are still able to improve on ourselves, level up our game, and get stronger and better along the way. So we want to think about outcomes, yes, but also beyond outcomes. So I'm going to give you some ideas that, take my ideas or, make them your own, expand, create other wonderful thoughts, categories, ideas. And again, please share them. I always love to hear what people come up with. I'm so excited for this for you. Okay. So I think one of the missing pieces when we think about goals is we forget about ourselves. As dog handlers, we are always focused on our dogs, right? How are our dogs? How are they eating? How are they feeling? Are they too hot, too cold, just right? Like, what is happening? We are obsessed in the best of ways, but we are obsessed with our dogs. And so a lot of times that focus then is external instead of focusing on ourselves. So in addition to those outcome goals you have for your dogs, I'm going to ask you to focus on yourself. And sometimes it gets uncomfortable because people are like, I don't know what I want for myself. Don't worry, here to help. Don't be stressy. We're going to do this together. All right. So I want us to think about what would make us grow. And one of the best questions to ask yourself along these lines is, what kind of handler do I want to become? Or what kind of handler do I want to be? Maybe you are already getting there, right? And it could be everything from, I want to be a world-class handler, to I want to be really nice to new handlers coming along, right? Really welcoming and compassionate to new handlers, because someone was that way for me, or I always wish someone was that way for me, or what have you. Or you want to be really skilled, or you want to be whatever it is that you want to be. There's infinite probably answers to that question. But I think it's an important question. I think it's one that deserves a full cup of coffee and a long stare out the window to really think about who you want to be, what kind of handler you want to be. And I think that's important because it guides our whole dog journey, not just 1 year, 1 dog, 1 sport, 1 title. It really sets up the stage for our theme of who we are. Maybe we want to be a great teacher, a great sharer of information, just really compassionate, really great with our dogs, have great dog relationships. Again, infinite. What you want to be as a handler, I think, is a really important question, and probably one that a lot of you have never thought of. Okay. So I want you to start there. And, it might take you days to be able to answer that question, but I think it is an important question, because as we better ourselves as handlers, our communication with our dogs get better. We are able to give clear direction. Certainly it strengthens the bond with our dogs. It strengthens the bonds within our community because, dog sports are a community. A lot of us, go to similar trials, see the same people, throughout the year. And so it is a community. And so we want to be able to figure out how we want to be in that community as well. Our confidence for sure increases when we figure this out, and our dog's confidence increases because we have a better sense of self. And we are able to be like consistent and more confident and maybe calmer, maybe, just have a better mental mindset, whatever that is for you. Okay. So some quick examples, and we're going to go deeper, but some quick examples of like maybe some personal growth goals might be, improving your ring nerves or your performance anxiety. Maybe that's what you want to get better at. Maybe it's, being able to qualify for big events and feeling really confident and like you belong there, right? Like banishing that imposter syndrome once and for all. It could be being more present and more connected during your runs. It could be refining skills. Maybe you want more skills, more, better handling, better timing, or just better like cueing your dog earlier and earlier. And maybe those skills, you're setting yourself up for bigger goals, right? You have this great big goal, it's a few years away. Well, what skills do you need to accomplish that goal? So taking a look at that. And those, I think it's interesting to set goals that are separate from the dogs you have, or maybe not necessarily reliant is a better way to say it, on the dogs that you have. Like I just want to be a better handler regardless of the dogs I have, or I want to, someday have a dog that is competitive in the breed ring at Westminster, which is not something I've ever done before because my dogs weren't those kind of dogs, right? They just weren't. They were more performance dogs, shall we say. Okay. So I think it's interesting to think about what are my personal growth goals, or how will I and my dogs grow in this coming year? All right. Again, different tack, just take a different angle on it. Okay, so let's do some creative goal setting, okay? So again, don't just ask what you want to achieve. Ask yourself, what do I want to learn or experience? Or how do I want to improve as a handler, right? So those questions maybe go together, right? What do I want to achieve and how do I want to learn or level up? But they might not be the same goals, right? What you want to achieve, those are easy. Those are the titles. Those are the outcomes. Those are the things that come very quickly to mind. But what you want to learn or experience or improve upon, that might take a little bit more of a think session, right? All right. So I'm going to give you some categories, and these are just thought starters, okay? I'm sure you can come up with more categories, more ideas, more whatever. If you really take this exercise seriously, I guess, right? Like really get out like pen and paper, new journal, wherever you want to do this, and really truly think about it. And I think like I said, you might come up with different categories, different ideas, but regardless, when you get to the end of this exercise, what I hope for you is that you are excited. You are excited to embark on these things, that these goals make you want to like get up and do something, or send an email, or try to get into a different seminar, or something that just pushes you into that growth zone in the best possible way. Okay, so my first idea for a category would be skills. So skill goals. So like improving, like maybe more technical handling, or maybe you want more distance handling, or you want to master like some more advanced like international type skills, right? Those would all be, examples of skill goals. For me, one of my examples of skill goals this year is to be better at teaching and like the finer points of obedience, because I realize that in my journey thus far, even though I've had like some like little bits of successes, based on the goals that I had, right? Now I'm ready to like level up, and I'm like, what are all these finer points that I'm missing, and how can I improve? And so I'm really this year on a skills journey that I would say started in the fall, with me really wanting to put more attention on it And then because I wanted better skills, I was like, well, who's going to teach me these better skills? And as a result, I now have a new instructor that I'm working with, and I also have a training partner that I'm working with. And already my skills are just like opening up, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never done that before. Oh my God, I've never taught that before. Oh my God, I totally skipped these 17 steps before, right? So it's really fun for me, and I'm putting that probably mostly in the skill goals, but as you'll see with some other categories, it's going to come up again because there are some other places where these my obedience goals sort of play. So the next one would be exploration or maybe like experiential goals. And those examples would be like, go to new trials, new venues, maybe even a new state, go to a national event, go somewhere far away, place that you maybe want to combine with a vacation, go like off to Montana or somewhere, you know what I mean? Go somewhere cool or different or fun or with different people, or maybe meet up with a friend somewhere in the middle of, between where you live, or try a new sport. Maybe it's time for scent work or, dock diving or barn hunt or something that is just, you do just for fun. And how could that expand your skills? I will tell you that like years ago, I got into like barn hunt and then more recently scent work. And, again, it just deepens my relationship with my dogs. It's fun. It's a new challenge. It, is a new kind of ways to work with your dogs, and like you're honing instinct, but you're kind of also training, but you're learning to read your dog better. It's just a different angle on unlike anything else I had done previously, right? That's really fun. That's a whole new experience, a whole new like exploration. All right, the next category I'll throw out at you is just personal growth. So that could be like listening to mindset podcasts, right? But overcoming mindset challenges, staying calm under pressure, getting your ring nerves or your performance anxiety, like, in check, or even maybe just bouncing back from setbacks. You want to be someone who, like, if you make a mistake in the ring, you're able to get through it faster to the other side and still be able to perform. Those would all be like personal. I'd put those on like the personal growth, like, sure, mental management, but I'd say that because you're listening to a mental management podcast. So that would be kind of in that category. Okay. The next category I have to throw out is consistency goals. Like, for instance, one of mine is like being more thoughtful about my training sessions. Like, I'm kind of the person that, like, if I rent the building for a little while, I kind of show up and do the same things, or maybe I don't really show up with a plan, or if I show up to a class, I just do whatever the teachers got set up for the day, and I don't really put much pre-thought into it. And really, since I've started this obedience journey, I'm really changing that. I'm really trying to be more thoughtful about what am I going to train. And I think one of the best things is like when you force yourself to like do the cheese stick training that I'm always joking about, but like I mean it, it actually makes you be more thoughtful, because if you're only going to train for 5 minutes, you better pick what you're training. Okay. So that's one of mine, but like logging every training session, like making a couple notes, like before and after, of like, this is what I wanted to work on. This is how it went. This is what I need to do next time. Even just answering those 3 questions about like what I want to work on, how it went, and then how that impacts what I want to do next time. That's really going to accelerate your progress. Okay. But that starts with being really consistent about doing that, and maybe having, like, I got a notebook just for training now, and all those notes are in that place. So I have it in one place. It has a pen attached to it, or in it at all times. So I have no excuses. And a lot of times it lives in the car in my training bag so that I have it with me. Okay. So you might commit to a specific schedule. You might commit even to like more consistent massages for you or your dog. Or maybe you're going to commit to a more consistent workout routine for you so that you are staying flexible and staying in shape enough to be able to run with your dog. The last idea I have for you, and like I said, please, you're going to have so many more probably categories of things you want to get better, but this falls in the category of like partnership or relationship. Whereas like building more connection with your dog, or maybe building more trust with your dog, or learning how to read your dog better, or, just that relationship piece. Because I think the relationship piece is happening all the time, right? It's happening in the house. It's happening when you train. It's happening when you compete. And as we know, it is so central to everything we do with our dogs. And whether you have a brand new puppy, still has its pink feet, or you have a retired dog, I think there's always things to be doing on relationship. And I think actually, especially with retired dogs, because sometimes they get pushed to the back burner if, you've got a dog that is more active in the house, or yes, a new puppy comes roaring through the front door and now it's all eyes on the puppy at all times. Maybe you have to work harder on those other relationships to maintain them. So those are kind of my starter categories for you. Now, don't do them all if you're not interested in one of those categories, okay? Or if you're good in those categories. But also don't think of like 27 more, because then it's too complicated and you'll probably get yourself overwhelmed. So think through like, where are the areas that I want to work? Where do I want to put focus? What actually has really been bugging me, right? Like my current theme is obedience. Like I'm really like sick of myself. That's it. Like I had a kind of a rocky trial, and I got really mad at myself because I wasn't happy with my preparation. I didn't think I was working hard enough, yet I didn't really know where to go for help or how to figure that out. So I knew that was my first step. And so it was kind of a combination for me of skills and a little bit exploration and experience, because getting deeper into obedience in that way was totally new for me, right? I'd only done it sort of at like a very cursory level before. It also hit like kind of personal growth, because I wanted to be able to learn how to train that and just get better at obedience in general. And then of course it required consistency, and it's helping partnership. Now, not every goal you take on is going to hit all of these different categories, but just to show you like how powerful it can be when you start to take a new focus or look at your goals through a different lens. And so I think that's really helpful, because if I were to just write down the titles that I want to get in obedience, it would not have led me to I could have gotten a CD, for instance, which I did. I got a CD in my dog without being good at this stuff, right? And that's when I was like, I'm sick of this. Like, I want to be better at this. Like, I am going to make a concerted effort to improve on this, and I am working on it. Okay, so stay tuned for more. All right, but just start with those categories, okay, and see where they come, or see what else comes up for you. Okay, a quick break, and we are going to come back with some other action steps that you can take to get your goals started in this like really cool, creative way. Quick question. Do you ever wish you had more mindset help? Well, the Q membership was created just for that reason. Every month we pick a topic, and then we have 4 lessons, which are kind of like these podcasts, that we dive deeper into. And so if you are ready for more, you're ready for more mindset work, think about joining the Q membership. Annual members get a free coaching session, but you can also choose the monthly option as well. Go to theqcoach.com to learn more. Let's get back to the episode. Okay, so as you start doing your goals for the year, one of the first things I want you to do is think about, what is your system for tracking them? And sure, I'm going to tell you like, hey, I got a great planner for you or a workbook for you. Sure. But if you'd rather write it in a notebook, on your phone, in a journal, in like, I don't know, tablets on the wall, like whatever you want to do, like is fine. You just need a system, something that you are going to use, something that you are going to reference, something that is easy for you. Like I like pen and paper. I like to think that way. I, kind of believe the research, right, that says that like there's something tactical about that pen in hand, paper in your brain, and how that comes together that really makes it sticky. Like I'm in, and I like to be able to draw and make messy pages and just really let my brain hit the page. That works for me. That is my chosen system. If you pick somebody else's system that doesn't work well for you, you're not going to stick with it. Okay. So just take a moment to think about, well, what am I really going to use? What is really going to be effective for me? And try to pick that. And you know what? You may have to experiment. You may go through a couple different systems this year to figure out what really works for you, and do it. Like, it's worth it, because once you get a good system, you're more likely to use it, and you're more likely to get the results. Okay. So just spend a couple minutes figuring that out for yourself. All right. So the first thing is reflect on last year. Okay. Reflect on 2024, or even back further, and what you've achieved and how you feel about it, and maybe even celebrating some successes, or maybe even taking a minute to be bummed out. Like, if that's what you need to do to finish processing 2024, do that. I find that so many people kind of ditch the previous year to set goals for the coming year without really even going back through it. Like, when I do my goals for 2025, let's say, I will get out my 2024 calendar planner, and I will go backwards through the whole thing. Like, I'll go back through January, like, what happened? What was I doing? What did I, what were the big things I did? What happened? And I'll go back through the whole year, because you forget, or there are holes in there that you didn't complete that you really wanted to, or, something happened that you're like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. So do a really thorough review. I did do both a podcast and a blog post / newsletter, which you can get, go listen to the podcast or go read the blog. But however you do that, because it had like suggestions on how to do that. However you do this, make sure that you do the review, because things will pop out at you that you're like if I was reviewing my 2024, I would have gotten to September when I had that like really rocky obedience trial that really made a big impact. And I would have been like, yeah, that needs to change. We're definitely highlighting that, pulling that forward as we go into 2025, right? Okay. So in that, and along with that review, you're going to identify some of the areas where you want to grow, or some things you want to explore or experience, kind of like see previous categories, right? You're going to figure out like, oh yeah, that was a really great experience, or I missed out on qualifying for this. I really want to make a more concerted effort to do that this year. Or that was a great experience. That was an awful experience. Or I made a new friend this year, and we're going to meet at a trial halfway between us, or something like that. Okay. So it helps inform what you want to do in 2025 that, again, might be beyond just outcome goals and titles and things like that. Okay. The third thing I want you to do, and I don't want you to skip any of these steps, but I really don't want you to skip this one. And that is, I want you to dream big, like ridiculously big, pie in the sky, little kid daydream big, the goals that say like, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. I want you to have that kind of unicorn and rainbow mentality when you think about your biggest dreams, the things that, like, if nothing would hold you back, what would you want? Because two things. One, those dreams really inform where our heart is sitting, because we really get honest about like, oh, that's the kind of stuff I want. Interesting. And then secondly, those big dreams, we can build bridges to those dreams, right? We can take step toward those dreams. Will we get them this year? Maybe not. Maybe it's something that we're going to need 3 years of practice to get to, or 3 years of skill building and seminars and exposure, and, and our dog is green right now, so they're going to need just some miles. Like, we might need a lot, but I want you to start thinking about that so that you're kind of putting it out in the universe, and you're directing your life toward that end. And you're starting to say like, this is the dream that makes me want to jump out of bed in the morning. This is the thing that I'm working toward, even if I'm not getting there in the next, 3 to 12 months. Maybe it's going to take longer, but it's worth pursuing, and it makes me jump out of bed and grab the cheese stick and head outside. Okay. So please, 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 I'm begging you, do not skip that step, because you're going to find out what inspires you. and what grabs your attention. Okay. So then from there, you're going to kind of set some creative goals, right? You might pick an outcome goal. You might add one growth goal to that, right? So maybe you've got your outcome goals. Those are pretty easy to figure out. And now you're going to add a growth goal. So maybe you're like, you know what? This is the year I figure out my mindset. This is a year it's worth investing in, for instance, right? Or this is a year I'm going to that seminar I keep saying I want to go to, but I always chicken out or make an excuse for or don't do. Or this is a year I'm going to really try to qualify for XYZ, okay? Because I want that experience, I have several clients who want to go to big events and be really competitive, and they're going even before they're quote ready, or they think they're ready, because they want the dog to have that experience so that when they are ready to be competitive, they don't have to be like, hey, Fido, this is a big ring. This is really busy. I hope you can compete in this, right? The dog's already been there. They've already been there. They already got the logistics down. They already know how to be in a big environment, and now they're ready to be competitive. Okay. So that might be a growth goal for you. All right. And then you're going to add an exploration or an experiential goal, like that. Does my dog need to be exposed to, do I need to be exposed to, what it's like to be in a big event? And maybe if you don't qualify, you just go. You tag along with a friend, or you go just to watch, so that, especially if you're someone who's overwhelmed by really big events and really, like the AKC Agility National is a really big, crazy, 6-ring circus kind of place. And so it might be really helpful for you just to go and watch and walk around and see oh, this is how it goes. Or, oh, you walk the course here, and then this is where your crating ear is, and this is how this works. And even if it's not the same venue, you kind of get a sense for the experience. Okay, so maybe that's an experiential exploration goal that you want to add, or you're going to try a new sport or something like we mentioned before. Okay, and then the last thing is you're writing it down. You're writing all of this down, and you're revisiting it. You don't have to revisit it every day. Maybe you look at these things once a month, maybe once a quarter. Are you on pace? Are you making progress? Are you prioritizing these things? Or did you do it as a throwaway exercise and you sort of forgot about it? All right. That will tell you, honestly, how important those things are to you. If you look at those and you're like, oh, shoot, I haven't done anything. Or if you look at them and you're like, man, I've changed my mind on this. That's fine. You're allowed to change your mind. Or some of them you're like, yes, I'm making so much progress. I'm so excited. And actually I did an extra experience goal even. Who was expecting, So make sure that your goals, you're writing them down, but you're not chipping them into concrete, right? Goals are flexible. Goals change. Life changes. Life happens. And so, but you're setting that point out in the horizon and you're beginning to steer toward it. And now you have a direction in which to travel for 2025. Okay? All right. So to recap, because I'm throwing all the things at you, outcome goals are the bomb. They're the bomb. They're it was part of how I started and even got into coaching and why the Dogged Planner and Workbook exists, because I believed that people really needed a framework for outcome goals and process goals and so forth. So don't get me wrong. I think they are important, but even more important than that is breaking them down, but they're not everything. They're not the whole picture. You need to focus on yourself and your own growth as a handler and really know who you want to be as a handler and where you want to push yourself and where you want to grow. It benefits you. It benefits your dog. It benefits the next 3 dogs you'll have. It's going to benefit the whole picture. Okay. And the other thing I want you to remember is some of this, what I'm calling sort of creative goal setting, really can reignite your passion for things and get you excited about it. So it isn't just, if it's January, I must be at this trial, or if it's March, I must be here, or it's this, it doesn't get boring. It doesn't get predictable. you really have a spark and something that lights you up. So if you are going to the same trial you always go to this weekend, now you're adding maybe a personal goal to it. Maybe now this weekend you're going to, see if you can really, focus on a certain area. Okay. That reignites us. That gets us excited again. It makes us try harder, work harder, and put ourselves out there into that growth zone so that we are pushing ourselves to be better. Okay. All right. So I really am going to challenge you to brainstorm at least 3 creative goals for 2025. You don't have to do one in every category, but like at least 3 that are sort of like pushing yourself personally. All right. Share them with someone if you feel comfortable. Maybe you can find like a training partner, accountability, like my obedience goals. Obviously, I've shared with my training partner, and that really helps. And she has those goals she's sharing with me, and we're talking through them and supporting each other. Okay. That's going to get me where I want to go faster than if I were just doing it by myself. Because if I'm doing it by myself and it's like too cold, too rainy, too whatever, and I'm too tired or I'm going to make excuses for myself. Okay. So it helps to share them. Just make sure you're sharing them with someone who is excited for you to win, who's going to, just hold you up and clap for you, just make sure it's a really great person. It doesn't even have to be a dog person for that matter. Okay. So take this seriously. Please have big dreams. Please have big things that you want. Don't censor yourself and be like, oh, but I'd be sad if I didn't get it, so I'm not going to write it down. No, we're going to write it down. We're going to go for it. And then we're going to get better along the way. Okay. All right. So that is a lot for you to do. You're probably driving, so you're probably not writing this down. So maybe you'll listen to this again when you're like kind of ready for pen to paper. But right now, as you're driving, wherever you're going to your next trial or what have you, use this time to think about what it is what this sparks in you and what kind of goals and thoughts that you have, what kind of dreams you have, and really what kind of handler you want to be. And you can start that journey this weekend. All right. So no matter what you're up to this week, I hope you have a fantastic week with your dogs. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner workbook and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at theqcoach and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.